How long have you been putting yourself on pause to take care of everyone else? How long have you been burning out little by little while you light up everyone else's life? Here's the hard truth. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to put you first. That choice is yours, and yours alone. And every single day you postpone yourself, you betray yourself a little more. It's time to stop living on the sidelines of your own life. This video is not just another one. It's an urgent wake-up call, a punch of reality you need to hear. Because today, through the power of Stoicism, I'm going to show you why you must never put yourself second again. You weren't born to fill other people's emptiness while draining your own soul. You came here to choose yourself, to take care of yourself, to respect yourself. And that's not selfishness. It's emotional survival. You'll learn the Stoic keys that will help you stop living to please others and start making choices from your truth, not from guilt. If you're tired of always giving yourself the last spot, stay with me. This video could be the start of the day everything changes. Because when you make yourself the priority, everything transforms. And now, be honest. How many times have you stayed silent when everything inside you was screaming to be heard? How many times have you given, held, cared, while inside you felt completely empty? We're not here to keep playing that game. If this video has already struck a chord with you, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments, when was the last time you chose yourself without guilt? Or if you prefer, just write, I won't put myself last anymore. Are you ready to put an end to the habit of forgetting yourself? Then take a deep breath because we're starting. First lesson, you are your most important responsibility. Do you remember the last time someone asked how you were doing and you answered, I'm fine, while inside everything was falling apart? Of course you do. We all do it constantly. We smile when we should be screaming. We nod when we should say no. We give when we've got nothing left to give. And the worst part is we do it thinking it makes us better people, kinder, more valuable, more noble. But let me tell you something that maybe no one has ever said this clearly. Every time you put yourself off, every time you swallow your needs to accommodate someone else's, you're not being generous. You're committing an act of betrayal against yourself. And that betrayal has consequences. It builds up in your body as tension. It leaks into your mind as resentment. It settles into your life as a deep emptiness you can't quite explain. Think about this. Imagine you have a garden, your garden, the only piece of earth that truly belongs to you in this world. Now imagine you spend every day watering everyone else's garden, cutting their grass, trimming their flowers, pulling their weeds, and meanwhile yours dries out. The plants wither, the soil cracks. Does that sound wise? Does that sound sustainable? Because that's exactly what you're doing when you don't make yourself your own priority. And here comes the part that really hurts. No one is going to ask for your permission to take care of themselves. No one's waiting for your approval to live their life. So why are you? Why do you need someone to tell you it's okay to think of yourself? Who stole that basic right from you? The Stoics understood this more than 2,000 years ago. They didn't talk about self-esteem or empowerment. Those words didn't even exist. But they did speak about something much deeper. Radical responsibility over one's own existence. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful emperor of Rome, wrote in his personal meditations something that should be engraved in every one of our minds. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Do you get the depth of that sentence? It's not cheap motivation. It's a declaration of war against victimhood. Marcus Aurelius isn't telling you to stay positive. He's telling you to take control of the only thing you can actually control: yourself, your thoughts, your decisions, your energy, your attention. And when you take on that responsibility, when you take charge of your own life without handing it over to others' expectations, everything changes. But of course, my friend, it's not easy at first, because we live in a culture that confuses personal sacrifice with virtue. They applaud us when we put ourselves last. They call us selfish when we set boundaries. They make us feel guilty when we prioritize our rest, our peace, our sanity. And that guilt is poison. Because it convinces you that taking care of yourself means taking something away from others, as if your well-being subtracts instead of adds, as if the only way you're allowed to shine is by dimming yourself down. And that's a lie. A lie you've been told so many times you started believing it was true. A few years ago, a psychologist named Kristin Neff revolutionized her field by researching something she called self-compassion. And what she discovered goes against everything we were taught about personal sacrifice. Her studies show that people who treat themselves with kindness, who prioritize and care for themselves, aren't just happier. They're also more resilient to stress, have healthier relationships, are more empathetic with others, and, here's the key, they're better able to truly help when it actually matters. Do you know what that means? Putting yourself first doesn't make you selfish. It makes you genuinely available. Because when you're running on empty, when you've given away every last drop of your energy, what you offer others isn't generosity. It's an echo. It's a performance. You're doing things out of obligation while inside you're screaming for a break. And people notice. Maybe they don't say it, but they feel it. They sense you're not really there, that your help is wrapped in exhaustion, that your smile is a mask. And then something strange starts to happen. You give and give, but it never feels like enough. People keep needing, keep asking, and you keep draining yourself. Do you know why? Because when you give from lack, from burnout, from guilt, what you give never really fills anyone. It's like trying to fill a glass from an empty pitcher. It doesn't work, it can't work. But when you take care of yourself first, when you come to others from a place of fullness, it's completely different. You give because you want to, not because you have to. You help because you can, not because you feel pressured to. And everyone feels that difference, especially you. Now, I know this might sound radical. You might be thinking, but I have responsibilities, I have kids, I have aging parents, I have a job that depends on me. I can't just think about myself. And you're right. But here's the distinction. Making yourself a priority doesn't mean abandoning anyone. It doesn't mean becoming cold or disappearing from the world. It means something much simpler and much more powerful. It means stopping the betrayal of yourself. It means learning to hold yourself up while you support others. It means understanding that you can't sustainably take care of anyone if you're broken inside. Think about it. On airplanes, they tell you, in case of emergency, put your own oxygen mask on before helping anyone else. Why? Because if you pass out while trying to save someone else, now there are two people in danger instead of one. Life works the same way. If you fall, if you break, if you burn out, it's not just you who suffers. Everyone who depends on you suffers too. So what does it really mean to make yourself your priority? It means practical, everyday things. It means setting aside time every day, even just 20 minutes, where no one can interrupt you, where you're not available, where you simply exist for yourself. Maybe that's reading, going for a walk, or just staring out the window in silence. It doesn't matter what you do. What matters is that you do it for you, and only you. It means learning to say no without endless explanations, without justifying yourself like you need permission to have boundaries. I can't is a complete sentence. That doesn't work for me, doesn't need a footnote. No is a valid answer, even if it makes someone else uncomfortable. It means asking yourself before every important decision, does this add to me or drain me? Am I doing this because I want to or because I'm afraid to disappoint? Is this coming from my truth or from guilt? And when you realize you're doing something just out of fear of rejection, obligation, or habit, you need to have the courage to stop, to rethink, to choose yourself. Seneca, another great Stoic, wrote something brutally true. It's not that we have a short life, but that we waste much of it. And we waste it exactly like this, being available for everything and everyone except ourselves, running around fulfilling expectations while our own needs sit waiting in the background, waiting for their turn, a turn that never comes. How many times have you put off a project you're passionate about because it's not the right time? How many times have you given up on that course, that trip, that important conversation? because someone else had a more urgent need? How many versions of yourself have you sacrificed on the altar of constant availability? And here's the hardest part. No one is going to thank you for it, at least not the way you expect. Because when you live to please, when your worth is tied to how much you give, it's never enough. There's always another request, another person who needs something, and you're still there, fulfilling, giving, fading away. Until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself. You ask when you stopped chasing your dreams, when your desires became negotiable, when you started believing your only purpose in life was to solve everyone else's problems while your own piled up in a dark corner. That day hurts. It hurts to realize you've lost yourself, that you left yourself behind, that somewhere along the way you decided you weren't important enough to make your own list of priorities. But that day can also be the beginning of something completely different. It can be the day you decide you're never putting yourself last again, that you're never again going to wait for leftover time, leftover energy, leftover attention to give yourself what you need. Because if you wait for the leftovers, there will never be any. Life doesn't work like that. Life gives you what you claim. And if you don't claim your own space, your own time, your own worth, no one else will do it for you. Not because they're bad people, but because everyone's busy living their own life, just like they should be. So start today, not tomorrow when things calm down, not Monday, not when that project's over. Today, now. Ask yourself, what do I need right now? And for once, listen to the answer without judging it, without minimizing it, without postponing it. It can be as simple as turning off your phone for an hour, saying no to that meeting that drains you, giving yourself permission to rest without guilt. Small actions, but actions that tell yourself something fundamental. I matter. My well-being matters. My peace matters. And when you start treating yourself like your most important responsibility, something incredible happens. The people who truly value you will understand. They'll respect it. And those who don't, they're doing you a favor by revealing that their presence in your life was conditional on your unlimited availability. And that, believe me, is not love. It's not friendship. It's use. Making yourself a priority isn't selfish. It's emotional survival. It's telling the world, I exist, I count, and my life is not an endless resource for whoever wants to take from it. And when you set that boundary, when you live that truth without apology, everything changes. Your energy shifts. Your presence becomes stronger. The way you relate to the world transforms. Because when you take responsibility for yourself, when you stop waiting to be rescued, you become whole. You no longer need external validation to feel worthy. You give from abundance, not from emptiness. And that's what truly transforms your life. You are your most important responsibility, not the second, not the one you get to if there's time. The first. The non-negotiable one, the one that doesn't get pushed aside. Because if you're not here, if you lose yourself along the way, nothing else makes sense. Second lesson, taking care of yourself is non-negotiable. Picture this. It's Tuesday afternoon. You've been sitting in front of your computer for 8 hours straight. Your eyes are burning. Your back is screaming. Your stomach's growling because, once again, you skipped lunch. You've got 3 tabs open with urgent tasks, 5 WhatsApp chats waiting for a reply, and that constant feeling that you're falling behind, even though you're not exactly sure on what. Your partner texts you, "What time will you be home?" And you reply with the usual, "In a bit, just finishing something." But you both know that a bit really means 2 more hours. Minimum. Your mom called yesterday. You still haven't called her back. Your friend invited you to an event that sounded great. You said yes, knowing full well you won't go. And that yoga class you promised you'd start this month, the one that was supposed to help with your stress, your tension, that permanent knot in your neck, still sits on your to-do list, week after week, month after month. You keep telling yourself that once this project is over, you'll rest. That once things calm down at work, you'll take care of yourself. That when this phase passes, you'll finally start exercising, sleeping better, eating properly. But that phase never ends. The project finishes and another one shows up. Things never calm down. And in the meantime, you keep going, functioning, performing, producing. But deep inside, something is slowly breaking, and you barely notice. Until one day you just can't anymore. You get up and feel like your body weighs twice as much. Or you can't sleep even though you're exhausted. Or you snap over something insignificant and you're left staring, stunned by your own reaction, wondering where that anger even came from. Sound familiar? Of course it does, because it's the story of millions of people who believe that taking care of themselves is something you do when there's extra time, when there's leftover energy, when life finally gives you a break. But there's never extra. There never will be. And while you're waiting for the perfect moment to start taking care of yourself, your body is racking up the bill. Your mind is collecting cracks. Your life is losing color, and you don't even realize it. And the worst part? We've normalized it. We've turned exhaustion into a badge of honor, stress into a status symbol, personal sacrifice into proof of commitment, as if breaking yourself is the only valid way to show you care. But let me tell you something you need to hear. Taking care of yourself is not a reward you get after doing everything else. Taking care of yourself is the foundation. Without it, nothing else works. It's not dessert. It's the main course. It's not optional. It's urgent. And when I say urgent, I don't mean it as some dramatic exaggeration. I mean it literally. Your body doesn't wait. Your mind doesn't negotiate. And once you hit the limit, once you finally break, there's no easy way back. The Stoics saw this with brutal clarity. Seneca, who lived in a time where life expectancy was way shorter than ours, where every day carried real urgency, wrote, "It is part of the cure to want to be healed." Do you get what he's saying? That the first step to taking care of yourself is admitting you need it. It's stopping the minimization, stopping the "I can push through" mindset. It's letting go of the "it's not that bad" or "other people have it worse" narrative. Yes, someone always has it worse. But that doesn't cancel out your need. It doesn't make your exhaustion any less real. It doesn't mean you should keep sacrificing yourself until you collapse. And here's what really shifts the perspective. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's responsibility. Because when you're unwell, when you're at the edge, when you're running on fumes, everything you touch suffers. Your relationships get tense because you have no patience. Your work turns sloppy because you can't think straight. Your decisions become reactive because you're too overwhelmed to pause. And your life becomes a series of emergencies you're constantly putting out without ever moving forward. Imagine you have a car. It's the only car you'll ever have in your life. Would you neglect it, never service it, push it to its limits without checking the oil, replacing the tires, or paying attention to the weird noises it's making? Of course not, because you know if that car breaks down, there's no replacement. You have to take care of it if you want it to go the distance. Well, your body is that car, your mind is that engine, and there is no replacement. This is the only one you get. And if you keep pushing it past the limit over and over again, eventually it's going to break. And when it breaks, everything else comes to a halt. But yeah, it's easier said than done, right? Because we live in a system that rewards sacrifice, that claps when you stay late, that values you more when you're available 24/7, that makes you feel guilty when you say, "I need to rest." And so you're stuck between what you need and what's expected of you. And most of the time, what's expected wins, because the fear of disappointing others is stronger than the fear of destroying yourself. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The people who demand that sacrifice from you, who expect you to always be available, who get upset when you set boundaries, they won't be there when you fall apart. They won't pay your hospital bills when stress takes its toll. They won't hold your life together when you can't anymore. Only you will be there, in that moment of collapse, in that hospital bed, in that 3 a.m. panic attack. Only you. And that's why you need to start taking care of yourself like your life depends on it, because it does. Marcus Aurelius, my friend, the emperor who carried responsibilities most of us can't even imagine, wrote, "Confusion, sweat, stupidity, despair, dullness, and slavery destroy day by day those sacred principles of yours." He was talking about daily wear and tear, about how not caring for yourself, never stopping, never listening to your needs, slowly erodes you until you become someone unrecognizable. And he was right. Because when you neglect yourself, when you ignore the signs, when you keep pushing past your limits, you don't just get tired. You change. You become irritable, bitter, resentful, hollow. And that version of you, that's not who you are, it's who you become when you abandon yourself. So now what? How do you start? How do you break the cycle? How do you begin to care for yourself when everything in your life is screaming for your attention? First, you have to accept something radical. Taking care of yourself is not something you do once everything else is done. It comes first. It has to come first. Because if you're not okay, nothing else can truly be okay for long. And that means real, concrete things. It means that exercise isn't something you do if there's time. It's something you schedule the same way you'd schedule an important meeting. Because it is important. More important than most things on your calendar. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to become an athlete. You just need to move. 30 minutes a day, walk, run, dance. Whatever gets your body to remember it's alive. That clears your mind. That gets your energy flowing. The science is clear. Study after study shows that regular exercise reduces anxiety, fights depression, improves sleep, sharpens your mind, strengthens your immune system. It's not an extra. It's a basic need. You also need to start sleeping like it matters. Because it does. More than you think. Your brain needs those hours to process, to consolidate memory, to regulate emotion. Your body needs that time to repair, to recharge, to prepare for what's next. And no, you can't make up for it on the weekend. It doesn't work that way. Sleep debt accumulates. And when you've been running on less than you need for months or years, your body goes into survival mode. And in that mode, everything feels harder. Everything takes more out of you. So set a bedtime and treat it like you would any other serious commitment, because it is. My friend, you need to start eating like your body matters, because it does. I'm not talking about extreme diets or obsessing over food. I'm talking about stopping the habit of punishing your body with junk food because you're too busy or too tired to make something decent. I'm talking about recognizing that what you put into your body becomes your energy, your clarity, your mood. And when you feed yourself poorly all the time, when you skip meals, when you eat on autopilot while working, you're telling your body it's not worth caring for. And listen closely, because this part is crucial. You need to start setting boundaries. Real boundaries, non-negotiable ones, with work, with family, with friends, with yourself. Boundaries like, I don't check emails after 8 p.m. Like, Sundays are for me, not for catching up on tasks. Like, I need 1 hour a day where no one interrupts me. And yes, people will push back, they'll resist, they'll guilt trip you, because your boundaries make them uncomfortable. Because they've gotten used to your unlimited availability. But you're not responsible for their discomfort. You're responsible for your well-being, and if you don't protect it, no one else will. Fifth, you need to learn to listen to your body. Really listen. When it's tired, when it needs rest, when it needs movement, when something's not right, because your body is talking to you all the time. It sends signals, shoulder tension, constant headaches, digestive issues, insomnia. These aren't random annoyances, they're messages. Your body saying, hey, something's off, I need attention. And when you ignore those messages, when you take another pill and push through, when you say, I'll deal with it later, those signals get louder. And eventually, they become full-blown crises. You also need something else. You need activities that genuinely recharge you. Not things you feel you should do because they're healthy. Things you actually enjoy. Things that make you feel alive, that give you energy instead of draining it. Maybe it's reading, maybe it's painting, maybe it's walking in nature, maybe it's playing music. Whatever reminds you that you're more than your obligations, more than your job, more than your role. And you have to schedule those activities. Block time in your calendar for them just like you would for any important task. Because if you wait for free time, it will never come. Seneca also wrote, "It's not that we have little time, but that we waste a lot of it. And we waste it exactly like this, by neglecting ourselves, by putting our needs last, by saying, 'I'll start tomorrow,' again and again, until tomorrow becomes never." But here's something else you need to know. Taking care of yourself isn't all or nothing. You don't need to change your entire life overnight. In fact, trying to do that is the fastest way to fail. Start small. Pick one thing, just one, and do it consistently. Maybe it's a 20-minute walk every day. Maybe it's sleeping 30 minutes more. Maybe it's eating breakfast sitting down instead of while rushing. One thing, small, sustainable. And when that becomes a habit, add another, and then another. Little by little, you build a life where caring for yourself isn't an exception. It's part of your routine. And here's what you need to understand. Taking care of yourself doesn't mean everything will always be perfect. It doesn't mean you won't have hard days. It means that when those days come, you'll have the strength to face them. You'll have internal resources. You'll have the clarity to know what you need. Because life is hard. It always has been. It always will be. You can't control that. But you can control how you show up for it. If you show up empty, exhausted, and at your limit, it will break you. But if you show up from a place of care, of strength, of internal balance, you can face it. Kristin Neff, who's dedicated her career to studying self-compassion, puts it like this: self-compassion is not self-indulgence. It's recognizing that you deserve the same care you would give to someone you love. Do you get that? It's not about spoiling yourself. It's about giving yourself the basic respect you deserve. Because you're human. Because you have a body that needs rest. A mind that needs peace. A spirit that needs care. And when you start treating yourself like that, when you stop waiting to deserve it and just do it, everything changes. Not magically, not instantly, but deeply. Your energy shifts. Your clarity improves. Your ability to handle stress grows. Your relationships get better because you come to them full, not empty. So start today, not tomorrow, not next Monday, today. Pick one thing, just one thing you'll do to take care of yourself, and do it. No excuses, no negotiation, because taking care of yourself is non-negotiable. It's not something you do if you can. It's something you do because you have to. Because this is the only body you've got, the only life you're going to live. And you deserve to live it with energy, clarity, and strength. Not just surviving, but actually living. And that begins the moment you decide that you matter too. That your well-being is not less important than everyone else's. That caring for yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. So now you know. Take care of yourself. The way you'd take care of someone you love. Because you deserve that same love. And when you finally start giving it to yourself, everything changes. Not the world, but the way you move through it. Lesson number 3. Your life doesn't need outside approval. There's an old Japanese legend about a master potter who spent his days crafting extraordinary pieces. Every vase that came from his hands was unique. Every bowl had a different soul. And people traveled from distant towns to buy his work. One day, a young apprentice arrived at his workshop and asked what his secret was, how he managed to make every piece so special. And the master, without stopping his hands from shaping the clay, gave an answer the young man didn't understand until years later. "I work for the clay, not for the eyes that look at it." The apprentice frowned, confused. "But master, don't you make these pieces for others to use, to admire, to buy?" The old artisan smiled. "I make these pieces because the clay asks me to, because my hands need to create, because something inside me needs to be expressed. If someone likes it afterward, that's wonderful. If they don't, that's fine too. I will have done my part. I will have found myself in the process." That story, my friend, holds a truth most of us forget somewhere along the way. You didn't come into this world to earn applause. You came to express yourself, to be, to exist at your own frequency, even if no one else tunes in. But look at what we do. Look at how we live. We calibrate every word, measure every move, constantly asking ourselves if what we're doing will be well received, if it'll land right, if it'll make us look competent, successful, worthy. And we spend years, decades even, living edited versions of ourselves, versions that pass inspection, that meet expectations, that don't cause trouble, that fit in. And you know what the most tragic part is? It works. You become acceptable, you get included, you get approval. But in the process, the person you really are, the one with strange opinions, unpopular tastes, ideas that don't fit, starts to fade, gets smaller and smaller, until one day you look at yourself and you can't find them anymore. Not long ago, I was talking to someone close to me, someone who always seemed to have it all together. And in the middle of the conversation, they said something that froze me. I'm 42 and I've just realized I don't know who I am. I know perfectly well who I'm supposed to be. I know what my family expects of me. I know what my company needs. I know what image I have to project. But if you ask me what I want, what I actually like, I have no idea. I've spent so long being what others need, I forgot how to be myself. And that is what happens when you live seeking permission. When every decision has to pass through the filter of external approval. When your compass isn't inside you, but in other people's gaze. The Stoics understood this with brutal clarity. Epictetus, who spent half his life as a slave before becoming a philosopher, wrote, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Do you see what he's saying? It's better to live in your truth and face the consequences than to betray yourself and have everything else. Because when you betray yourself, when you live with the handbrake on, when every move needs approval, you're not really living. You're functioning, performing, existing, but not living. Let me be clear. This isn't about becoming a rebel without a cause. It's not about doing the opposite of what's expected just to make a statement. That's still living in reaction to others, just in reverse. It's about something deeper. Learning to listen to yourself, to reconnect with what you actually want, need, feel. To start making decisions from your center, not from fear of judgment. Think about it. How many times have you changed your opinion mid-conversation because you realized your view wasn't popular? How many times have you hidden your interests because they weren't cool, or you were afraid of being judged? How many times have you held back from doing something you wanted to do because you thought, what will they say? Every time you do that, every time you censor yourself, every time you edit yourself to be more acceptable, you're sending yourself a devastating message. What I think doesn't matter. What I feel isn't valid. I only matter if I meet other people's expectations. And that message sinks in. It becomes belief. And once that belief is rooted, you start living as if your life needs to be approved by an outside committee to be valid. But here's the truth. That committee will never be satisfied. Never. Because it's made up of people who are also seeking approval, who are also insecure, who are also projecting their own fears and doubts in the form of judgments. And when you live to please them, you enter a vicious cycle you can't win. Because there will always be someone who wants something different from you. Always a conflicting opinion. Always someone disappointed. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, the man who literally had to carry the weight of an empire's expectations, wrote, "How easy it is to repel and erase any impression that is troublesome or inappropriate and immediately be at peace." What he was saying is this: other people's opinions are just that, opinions, impressions. They are not objective truth. They are not universal law, and you have the power to see them for what they are and keep living your life. But of course, that's easier said than done, especially when you've spent years, maybe your whole life, measuring your worth through external validation. So how do you start letting go of the need for approval? How do you rebuild that connection to yourself that you lost somewhere along the way? First, you have to do something uncomfortable. Identify the areas in your life where you're living for others. And you'll be surprised how many there are. It could be your career. Maybe you studied what your parents wanted, or you're still in a job that's killing you inside because it's what you're supposed to do. It could be your relationships. Maybe you're with someone because it's what people your age do, or because you've been together so long it would be weird to leave, even though you haven't felt anything in a long time. It could be your lifestyle. Maybe you live where you live, buy what you buy, spend your weekends the way you do. Not because you truly want to, but because that's what people like me do. And when you start to see that, when you realize how much of your life isn't actually yours, it can feel overwhelming. It can be scary. It can make you feel like you've wasted years living the wrong life. But it can also be freeing. Because if you've realized it, that means there's still time. It means you can start choosing differently. It means you don't have to keep going like this. Second, you need to practice something that'll feel terrifying at first. Expressing your truth without softening it, without editing it, without dressing it up to make it more palatable. Start small. When someone asks what you want to do, say what you really want to do, not what you think they want to hear. When someone asks your opinion, give your opinion, not the safe one that won't offend anyone. Yes, it'll feel uncomfortable. There'll be awkward silences, surprised looks, people who weren't expecting you to have your own voice. But that's part of the process. It's the cost of reclaiming yourself. Third, and this is crucial, you need to reconnect with the things you used to love before you started caring so much about what others thought. What did you do as a kid that filled you with joy? What activities made you lose track of time? What dreams did you have before someone told you they weren't practical, weren't realistic, weren't for someone like you? Go back to that. It doesn't have to be your career. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. Something you do because it connects you to yourself, not because it impresses anyone. It could be painting, writing, playing an instrument, cooking, gardening, anything that brings you back to yourself, that reminds you you're more than your role, more than your job, more than your function. And when you do that, when you reconnect with the parts of yourself you had put away, something awakens. You start to remember who you were before you started shaping yourself to fit in. And that memory, that reconnection, is the beginning of everything. Fourth, you have to do something radical. Start making important decisions thinking only of yourself, not what's expected, not what will make you look good or bad, just you. That doesn't mean being selfish, it means being honest. It means no longer sacrificing yourself at the altar of other people's expectations. Next time you face a big decision, before checking with 10 different people, before seeking validation, ask yourself, what do I want? What feels right for me? What would I choose if I knew no one would judge me? Then listen to the answer, believe it, and act on it. Because here's the most freeing truth you'll ever hear. The people who truly value you, the ones who really love you, don't need you to betray yourself to keep them around. In fact, they'll respect you more when you start respecting yourself. And the people who get upset when you stop being convenient, when you stop molding yourself to their expectations, those people were never there for you. They were there for the version of you that served them. And losing them isn't a loss, it's a release. Seneca wrote, "We do not lose time, we give it away." And it's the same with your life. You're not losing it, you're giving it away every time you live to please, every time you shape yourself to fit, every time you ask permission to be who you are. And it's time to stop giving it away. Your life doesn't need outside approval. Your life is yours, and the only person who needs to approve of it is you. So start today, not tomorrow. Today. Do one thing, just one, that is completely yours, that doesn't need explanation, that doesn't seek validation. Something you do just because you want to. It can be as simple as saying no to a plan you don't feel like doing, as small as expressing an opinion you've been holding in, as meaningful as going back to something you abandoned because it wasn't serious enough, productive enough, acceptable enough. And when you do it, notice how you feel. Probably guilt at first, probably fear, Probably the urge to backtrack, to soften it, to go back to the safer version. Don't do it. Hold your ground. Breathe. And remember, you're coming back to yourself. You're recovering. And that process isn't comfortable, but it is necessary. Because at the end of your life, when you look back, you won't regret disappointing a few people. You'll regret betraying yourself. You'll regret every moment you could have been you and chose to be acceptable instead. Don't let that happen. Don't get to the end of your life without ever having met yourself, without having given yourself the chance to be who you are. Unfiltered, unmasked, unapologetic. Live your life, the real one, not the approved version, not the safe version, yours, because that's the only one that truly matters, and the only one no one else can live for you. Stop asking for permission to be yourself. Just be, and watch how everything changes once you finally give yourself that permission. 4. Stop negotiating with your reflection. There's something you do every morning without even realizing it. Something so automatic, so ingrained, you don't even register it. You get up, walk into the bathroom, and face the mirror. And in that second, that brief moment before your conscious mind fully kicks in, there's a silent conversation, a quick scan, an instant judgment. And most of the time, that judgment is harsh, brutal, unforgiving. Those dark circles again. Even more gray hair. When was the last time you liked what you saw? Look at how far you've let yourself go. And just like that, before you've even had your first coffee, before your day has really begun, you've already beaten yourself down. You've already decided you're not enough. You've already measured yourself and come up short. And the worst part? This doesn't just happen with the physical mirror. It happens with the internal one. The image you hold of who you think you should be. That idealized version of yourself you never quite reach. That impossible standard that keeps shifting the moment you get close. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many times a day do you compare yourself? Not just with your reflection, with others, with past versions of yourself, with where you thought you'd be by now. How many times a day do you fall short in that comparison? And here's the brutal truth. That war you fight with yourself in the mirror, that constant battle between who you are and who you think you should be, is draining you. It's stealing energy you could be using to build, to grow, to live. Because when you don't accept yourself, when you reject what you see every time you look, you're not motivating yourself to improve. You're eroding your foundation. You're building on sand. You're trying to create a life while hating the person who's meant to live it. And that doesn't work. It never has. Think about the way you speak to your reflection, the tone, the words you choose. Now imagine someone you love, someone you deeply respect, speaking to themselves like that. Would you let it happen? Would you stay silent while they tore themselves apart? Of course not. You'd step in. You'd tell them they're being unfair. You'd remind them of their worth. So why do you allow yourself to speak that way? Why the double standard? Why do you show more compassion to strangers than you give to yourself? The Stoics didn't have mirrors like ours, but they had something even more powerful, the concept of self-examination without self-destruction. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time, started each day reminding himself, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." Notice the difference? He didn't start his day counting flaws. He began by recognizing the fundamental value of simply existing, not from arrogance, but from gratitude. And from that place of acceptance, he could work on becoming better. Because here's the secret no one tells you. You can't improve from a place of rejection. You can't build a better version of yourself if your starting point is self-hatred. It's like trying to grow a garden while cursing the soil. It doesn't work. You have to start with respect, with the understanding that even if you're not perfect, you are worthy of care. And no, this isn't about complacency. It's not about giving up or settling for less. The Stoics never promoted passivity. They stood for something far more radical, the acceptance of the present as the starting point for action. Epictetus put it sharply, "Don't seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happens the way it does, and you'll be okay. That applies perfectly to how you see yourself. You can't begin from where you're not. You can't build from a fantasy. You have to start here, with this body, with this face, with this story. And when you do that, when you make peace with where you are, something extraordinary happens. You stop wasting energy resisting what already is. And that energy, all the energy you used to spend tearing yourself down, can finally be used to transform. But let me be clear, my friend, making peace with the mirror doesn't mean you have to love everything you see. It doesn't mean you have to treat every wrinkle like a trophy or every extra pound like an accomplishment. It means something deeper. It means you stop using your appearance, your current state, as proof that you aren't worthy. Because that's what's really happening, right? It's not just that you dislike what you see, it's that you've turned your reflection into a verdict on your value. As if how you look determines whether you deserve respect, or love, or space in this world. And that is a lie. A lie you've been sold millions of times. A lie so deeply embedded you've mistaken it for truth. Your worth does not depend on your appearance. It doesn't increase with a better body or shrink with a body that doesn't fit arbitrary standards. Your worth is intrinsic. It exists because you exist. Period. But of course, it's easy to say that. It's much harder to believe it, especially when you've spent years, maybe decades, looking at yourself with contempt. When your inner dialogue is a constant loop of "you're not enough." So how do you change that? How do you make peace with someone you've been at war with for so long? First, you have to realize where that voice comes from. That voice that tears you down in the mirror. It wasn't born with you. You learned it. Maybe from a parent who never gave you approval. Maybe from an ex who made you feel like you were never enough. Maybe from a culture that bombards you with filtered, retouched images of impossible perfection. That voice is not you. It's a program that was installed in you. And the first thing you need to do is recognize it, hear it, and say, "Ah, there's that recording again." Don't fight it, don't suppress it, just see it for what it is. An echo of the past, not a truth of the present. Then start questioning the standards you're measuring yourself by. Who decided what you should look like? Who defined what bodies are acceptable and which ones aren't? Who said your value depended on fitting a specific image? When you start dismantling those standards, when you realize how arbitrary, shifting, and unattainable most of them are, something unlocks. It doesn't mean you suddenly love everything. It just means you stop using that dislike as a weapon against yourself. And here's the most important part. You need to start treating yourself the way you'd treat someone in your care. Imagine a child, one who depends on you for everything. Would you shame them for not being perfect? Would you call them ugly, a failure, a disappointment? Never. You'd care for them. Feed them well. Make sure they rest. Speak to them with kindness. Now do that for yourself. Take care of yourself like your well-being is your responsibility, because it is. You don't need to look a certain way to deserve care. Care isn't a reward, it's the path. Eat well, not as punishment for what you ate yesterday, but as a sign of respect for your body. Sleep enough, not because you earned it by being productive, but because your body needs rest to function. Dress in a way that makes you feel worthy, not to impress others, but because how you present yourself to yourself matters. And watch what happens. When you start treating yourself with respect, not as a condition, but as a constant, your relationship with the mirror changes. It stops being a judge. It becomes just a reflection, neutral, honest, free of the emotional weight you used to pile on it. You also need to do something difficult. Stop comparing. Not just with others, that's damaging enough, but with past versions of yourself. That you from 10 years ago with more hair, less weight, more energy. That comparison is useless. You can't go back. You can't rewind time. You can only work with who you are now, and who you are now is enough to begin, not to finish, not as the final version, but as a valid starting point. Modern psychology has shown something powerful. Self-acceptance doesn't make you complacent. In fact, people who accept themselves are more likely to change because they're not paralyzed by self-hate. When you accept yourself, you free up the emotional energy to grow. When you reject yourself, that energy goes into self-punishment. Carl Rogers, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, put it simply. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. Do you see it? It's not acceptance or change, it's acceptance for change. When you make peace with who you are today, you can start building who you want to be tomorrow, not from hate, but from care. So next time you look in the mirror, try this. Instead of immediately hunting for what's wrong, look for something that's working. It doesn't have to be your face if you don't like your face. It could be anything. The strength in your hands, the life in your eyes, the simple fact that you're here, breathing, existing. And say something kind. It doesn't have to be, "You're beautiful," if that feels like a lie. Start smaller. "I'm here for you. You're doing your best. You deserve respect." At first, it'll feel fake, silly even, but keep going, because you're rewiring decades of self-contempt, and that doesn't change in a day. But it does change, little by little, word by word, look by look. Make peace with the mirror, not because you love everything, but because this war with yourself is taking you nowhere. It's only draining you, and you deserve better than that. You deserve to look at yourself without tearing yourself apart. You deserve to exist without apologizing. You deserve to care for yourself without conditions. So start today. Look at yourself with honesty, yes, but also with compassion, with the same care you'd give to someone you love. Because when you finally make peace with your reflection, when you stop negotiating yourself in the mirror, something shifts. Not your face, not necessarily your body, but your relationship with yourself. And that changes everything. Lesson number 5. The guilt isn't yours, but carrying it still is. Stop for a moment right now as you listen to this, and ask yourself something. When was the last time you did something just for you without feeling like you were stealing time from someone else? When did you rest without that annoying little voice whispering that you should be doing something else? When was the last time you said no and went to sleep in peace, instead of lying awake all night justifying it in your head? If you can't remember a time like that, if you have to dig deep into your memory to find even a moment of peace without guilt, then you need to hear this, because guilt has become your constant companion. That shadow that follows you everywhere, that invisible weight you carry on your shoulders without realizing it's slowly crushing you. And the most twisted part of it all, you don't even know why you feel it. It's just there, like background noise that never shuts off, like an alarm that keeps ringing but you've gotten so used to it you don't even notice anymore. Think about this. You're exhausted after a brutal week. Your body is begging for rest. Your mind is hanging by a thread, and you finally allow yourself a quiet Sunday at home, to do nothing, to just be. No plans, no obligations, but not even 2 hours go by before it starts. That thought, I should be working out, I should visit my parents, I should get ahead on work, I should. And just like that, what was supposed to be rest turns into an internal battle. You're not really resting, you're justifying your rest, negotiating with yourself, promising that tomorrow you'll make up for it all, as if rest were a crime that needed penance. Or think about this. You finally decide to start that personal project you've been putting off for years. That book you want to write, that course you want to take, that business idea you've been dreaming about. You sit down at the computer full of excitement, and then, there it is again. Guilt. Shouldn't you be helping your sister move? Didn't you promise to call your friend? Isn't the house a mess? And so your project, your dream, gets pushed aside once again, because guilt has decided your needs can wait, that everyone else comes first. You know what's truly toxic about this? Most of the guilt isn't even real, not in any objective sense. You haven't done anything wrong. What you've done is internalize a toxic belief that your worth is measured by how much you give, how much you produce, how available you are. And anytime you dare to step outside of that role, anytime you choose yourself, guilt shows up to put you back in your place. The Stoics understood this over 2,000 years ago, even if they didn't use the word guilt the way we do. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Do you grasp how deep that is? Guilt doesn't come from the outside. It comes from your interpretation, from that internal voice you picked up from others and now repeat to yourself as if it were absolute truth. That voice that tells you rest is laziness, that saying no is selfish, that taking care of yourself means abandoning others. That voice is lying. And the first step toward freedom is recognizing that you are not that voice. It's an outdated script, old software that's still running, even though you don't need those instructions anymore. My friend, maybe no one ever told you this, but there's a massive difference between guilt and responsibility. And confusing the two is what keeps you trapped. Responsibility is clear. It's specific. It's tied to something you did or didn't do that has real consequences. If you made a promise and didn't keep it, that's responsibility. If you hurt someone through your actions, that's responsibility. And responsibility has a path forward. You own it, you fix it, you learn, you move on. But guilt is murky. It's vague. It's the feeling that you're always falling short, even if you can't say exactly where. It's feeling like you're never enough, even when you're breaking yourself trying to be. And guilt has no resolution, because it's not a real problem. It's a parasitic emotion that feeds off your need for approval. Epictetus, who lived as a slave before earning his freedom, knew something about invisible burdens. He said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." Your guilt doesn't come from what you do or don't do. It comes from what you believe those things mean. Imagine this, a mother working from home. She's in an important video call while her kids are playing in the next room. Suddenly, one of them comes in crying, needs something, and in that moment, she has to choose, finish the call or tend to her child. If she finishes the call, she feels guilty for not attending to her child right away. "I'm a bad mom. I put work before my kid." If she ends the call, she feels professional guilt. "I look unprofessional. I'm not reliable. I can't handle it all." Here's what's devastating. No matter what she chooses, guilt is waiting. Because guilt doesn't come from what she does. It comes from the impossibility of meeting contradictory expectations. And that's exactly what's happening to you. You're living in a minefield of impossible standards. You're supposed to be available to everyone, successful but humble, productive but relaxed, ambitious but content, assertive but flexible. And when you can't do all of that, guilt tells you you're the problem. But no, you are not the problem. The problem is the belief system you've inherited. The problem is that you were taught your worth is conditional, that you only deserve peace if you perform, that you only deserve rest if you produce, that you only deserve love if you sacrifice yourself. And all of that is a lie. Modern psychology has studied this deeply, and what they found is crushing. Chronic guilt doesn't make you more responsible. It makes you more anxious, more depressed, more paralyzed. Because when you live in constant guilt, your brain stays in permanent alert mode. You never really rest, you never feel safe, you're always bracing for the moment someone tells you you've failed. And the worst part? You start to preempt it. You no longer need others to judge you. You do it yourself. You beat yourself to the punch. You deny yourself things before anyone else can, as if punishing yourself first will somehow protect you. But it doesn't. It never has. Seneca wrote something sharp as a blade. "We punish not because a man has sinned, but so that he will not sin again." Punishment looks to the future, not the past. Do you get it? If it already happened, if it's already done, punishing yourself is pointless. It only keeps you stuck in something you can't change. The real power lies in action, in asking yourself, what can I do now? What's in my control? And when you answer from that place, When you act instead of ruminating, guilt loses its grip because you're no longer spiraling, you're moving. But to get there, you have to do something uncomfortable. Look your guilt in the face and ask, is this real? Did I actually do something wrong? Or did I just fail to meet an impossible expectation? And you'll find something liberating. Most of your guilt crumbles under honest inspection. You feel guilty for skipping that family gathering, but why? Because you made a promise and backed out? Or because you simply didn't have the energy and judged yourself for needing rest? If it's the first, fine, take responsibility. Apologize, reconnect. But if it's the second, let it go. There's nothing to fix, just a false expectation that you should always be available. You feel guilty for taking an afternoon off. But why? Because you were supposed to meet someone and bailed? Or because you believe you don't deserve rest unless you've earned it? If it's the first, correct it. If it's the second, question it. Who decided what's enough? Why do you have to earn the right to exist? And here comes the hardest part, but also the most powerful. You have to start doing things just for you, without justifying them, without explaining, without asking permission. Take an hour for yourself, without fear, without guilt, just to do something you enjoy. Read without feeling like you should be productive. Walk without turning it into a workout. Watch that show, not as a guilty pleasure, but as your time. And when the guilt shows up, and it will, don't fight it. Just notice it, acknowledge it, and keep going anyway. Because guilt loses its power when you stop obeying it. When you prove to yourself that you can feel it and still choose yourself. You also need to learn this: how to tell the difference between what's truly your responsibility and what others have made you believe is your responsibility. Because some people, whether they mean to or not, have learned to use your guilt as a tool. They make you feel bad for setting boundaries. They guilt trip you for not meeting their expectations. And those people, consciously or not, keep you trapped. Because as long as you feel guilty, you stay controllable. You keep giving in. You keep putting their needs ahead of your own. But here's the hard truth. You are not responsible for anyone else's happiness. You are not responsible for filling anyone's emptiness. You are not responsible for carrying people who refuse to stand on their own. You are responsible for you, for your integrity, for your choices, for how you treat others and how you treat yourself. And when you own that responsibility without guilt, everything changes. Because guilt paralyzes, responsibility empowers. Guilt looks backward, responsibility builds forward. Guilt makes you small, responsibility makes you capable. So start today, not tomorrow. Today. Do one thing, just one, for yourself, without justifying it, without explaining it, without feeling like you owe anyone for doing it. It can be as simple as turning your phone off for an hour, saying no to a plan you're not excited about, giving yourself permission to not be okay without pretending you are. And when you do it, when you act in spite of the guilt, you'll feel something strange. Discomfort, yes, but also something else. A flicker of freedom. A glimpse of what life might feel like without that constant weight. Because the guilt? It was never yours. It was placed on you, taught to you, installed like a program. But carrying it, letting it run your life, that part is on you. And you can choose differently. You can choose to release it. You can choose to act from responsibility, not guilt. You can choose to accept that you'll never meet everyone's expectations, and that's okay. And when you make that choice, when you allow yourself to breathe without guilt, something opens, your chest expands, your mind quiets, your life starts to feel like yours again. Because you were never meant to carry that. It was never yours, and it's time to let it go. Guilt doesn't make you a better person. It just makes you smaller, more afraid, easier to control. And you weren't born to be small. You were born to take up space, to live unapologetically, to choose yourself without guilt. So ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, when was the last time you breathed without guilt? And if you can't remember, if it's been too long, then it's time to breathe again, deeply, fully, and let it go. Let go of the guilt that isn't yours. Let go of the impossible expectations. Let go of the belief that peace must be earned, because you deserve peace, now, without conditions. And when you finally let yourself feel that, when you let that truth settle in, you begin to move differently, to choose differently, to live differently. You begin to live without guilt, and that changes everything. Lesson number 6. Your silence is worth more than 1,000 obligations. It was the year 166 AD. Marcus Aurelius had just returned from yet another military campaign. Rome was celebrating him as the victorious emperor. The streets were shouting his name. Senators were competing for his attention. Generals were waiting for his orders. The entire empire needed something from him. Always, constantly, without pause. And he, exhausted to the bone, locked himself in his private room. Not to sleep, not to celebrate, but to write, to be with himself, to recover, even if just for a few hours, that inner space the world kept stealing from him. In those personal pages, which we now know as his meditations, he wrote something that cuts through the centuries. People seek retreats for themselves in the countryside, by the sea, in the mountains. But this is a sign of the most ordinary kind of man, for it lies in your power to retire into yourself whenever you want. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time, who literally had the whole empire at his feet, understood something that most of us still haven't. You don't need to go far to find peace. You need to learn how to create space for yourself in the middle of the chaos. You need to protect that inner refuge as if your life depended on it. Because it does. But look at what we do. Look at how we live. Every minute scheduled, every hour committed, every bit of space filled with something, with someone, with anything but ourselves. You wake up and the first thing you do is check your phone. Messages, emails, notifications. People already asking something of you before you're even fully awake. And that's how the day starts. And that's how it continues. And that's how it ends. An endless stream of demands, expectations, urgencies that aren't even yours but somehow become your responsibility. And you? Where do you fit into all this? Between the cracks, in the margins. In those 5 stolen minutes between one obligation and the next where you try, unsuccessfully, to breathe. My friend, that's not a life. That's just functioning. That's complying. That's existing in service of everything and everyone except yourself. And the most dangerous part is that you get used to it. You start believing that this is how it's supposed to be. That being busy means being alive. That being available means being connected. That filling every second means being productive. But the truth is the complete opposite. When you don't have space for yourself, when there's no silence in your life, when there aren't moments where you simply exist, without having to be useful to anyone, you begin to empty out. And at first, you don't even notice. You notice it when you snap over something small, when you cry for no apparent reason, when you feel that kind of tiredness that doesn't go away, even after sleeping, when you look in the mirror and don't recognize the exhausted person staring back at you, and then you realize you haven't made space for yourself. You've made space for everyone else but you. You've been generous with your time, your energy, your attention, but never with yourself. Think of it like a bank account. Every interaction, every demand, every obligation is a withdrawal. And if you only ever withdraw, if you never deposit, eventually the account hits zero. And when that happens, when you're completely emptied out, you can't give anything else. Not because you don't want to, because there's nothing left to give. Making space for yourself isn't selfish. It's basic maintenance. It's survival. It's recognizing that you too need care, attention, time. And if you don't give it to yourself, no one else will. Because here's the hard truth. No one is coming to rescue you. No one's going to show up and say, "Hey, I see how tired you are. Let me take some responsibilities off your shoulders." On the contrary, the more you give, the more they'll ask for. The more available you are, the more they'll expect you to keep being available. And it's not out of malice. Not necessarily. It's just that people get used to it. They get used to you always being there, to you always saying yes, to you always finding a way to make space for them. And you, meanwhile, keep getting smaller in your own life, shrinking yourself to make room for others, until one day you realize you no longer fit inside your own existence. The Stoics talked about this a lot, about the importance of solitude, not as isolation but as a necessity. Seneca wrote, "Solitude is dangerous for the man who is alone, but not for the one who is in the company of himself." Do you see the difference? Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means being with yourself. And if you've spent so long being everything for everyone else that you've forgotten how to be with yourself, then that reunion is going to feel uncomfortable at first. It's going to feel strange. It's going to feel scary. Because when you finally sit alone with yourself with no distractions, no noise, no obligations to keep you busy, you start to hear things. Thoughts you've been ignoring, feelings you've been avoiding, truths you've been postponing, and that's not comfortable. That's why most people avoid it. That's why we fill every second. That's why silence terrifies us. Because in silence, there's nowhere to hide. There's just you, and what you really feel, and what you really need. But that encounter, as uncomfortable as it is necessary. It's the only path back to yourself. It's the only way to reconnect with who you are underneath all the masks, all the roles, all the expectations. So you need to make space. Real space. Concrete space. Non-negotiable space. And I'm not talking about waiting until you have time, because you never will. I'm talking about creating time, claiming it, defending it like you would anything else in your life that truly matters. Start with something sacred. 20 minutes a day, untouchable, no phone, no agenda, no pressure to be productive, just exist, just be with yourself. And what do you do in those 20 minutes? Whatever you need, it's personal. Maybe it's sitting in silence, maybe it's walking aimlessly, maybe it's writing, maybe it's just staring out the window. It doesn't matter what you do, what matters is that you do it just for you. And you'll want to fill it. Your mind will try to convince you those 20 minutes could be used for something useful. To answer one more email, to make that call you've been putting off, to get ahead on that task you've been avoiding. Don't do it. Protect that space like your sanity depends on it. Because it does. You also need to learn something hard, how to say no without justifying yourself. Because part of making space for yourself is stopping your life from filling up with obligations that don't belong to you. And yes, at first, people won't get it. They'll ask why, they'll push, they'll try to make you feel guilty because they got used to your unlimited availability. And now you're changing the rules. But you don't owe them explanations. "I can't" is a full sentence. That doesn't work for me, doesn't need a reason. And "I need that time for myself" doesn't require you to convince anyone it matters. Your time is yours. Your energy is yours. And you have every right to protect it. Another thing you need to do, remove something from your life. A task, a commitment, something you do out of habit but that no longer brings anything to you. Something you do just because you've always done it, because it's expected, because it would feel weird to stop now. Let it go, free up that space, and watch what happens. Probably nothing dramatic. The world won't fall apart. People will adapt, and you'll breathe just a little easier. And finally, you need to learn to be in silence. Not with background music, not with a podcast, not with the TV on. Real silence, where the only thing you hear is your own thoughts. At first, it'll be unbearable. Your mind will scream. It'll try to distract you. It'll make you anxious. Because it's not used to it, because you've spent years running from that silence. But if you stay, if you breathe through the discomfort, if you let the silence settle, something changes. You start to hear yourself. You start to recognize yourself. You start to know what you need without anyone having to tell you. And that's the most valuable thing you can reclaim. That connection with yourself. That inner knowing. That clarity that only comes when you stop filling every second with external noise. Making space for yourself isn't a luxury. It's not something you do once everything else is sorted out. It's the foundation that everything else is built on. Because when you're okay, when you've taken care of yourself, when you have energy because you didn't give it all away, then you can give, you can be present, you can help. But if you empty yourself first, if you give until you have nothing left, what you offer is no longer real. It's just an echo. It's a performance. It's functioning on autopilot while inside, you're screaming. And no one wins like that. Not the people around you, not you. So make space. Claim it, defend it, protect it like you would protect anything you truly value. Because you matter. Your peace matters. Your mental health matters. And if you don't do it, if you keep waiting for someone else to give you permission, if you keep leaving yourself for last, you're going to reach a point where there's nothing left to come back to. Don't let it get there. Make space for yourself, now, today. Not as a reward, as a necessity. Because the only thing that truly matters is you. And without you, none of the rest makes sense. Lesson number 7. Nobody needs you to break in order to love you. There's a scene that plays out in thousands of lives. Someone sitting in front of the mirror looking at themselves without recognizing who they see. Wondering when they stopped being who they were. When they started changing how they speak, how they dress, how they think. Just to fit in. To be accepted. To avoid being a bother. To be loved. And the most painful part of all? It works. For a while. People accept you. They smile at you. They include you. But there's a price. And that price is you. The real you. The one buried under layers and layers of edited, approved, safe versions. Have you ever been in a relationship, a friendship, a job, where you felt like you constantly had to measure yourself? Where you couldn't be spontaneous because you never knew how what you said would land? Where every word, every gesture, every opinion had to be calculated just to avoid standing out? Do you remember that feeling? It's exhausting. It's living on constant alert. It's becoming a full-time actor, playing the role of the person you think others need you to be. And the saddest part is, it works so well that you start to forget it's just a role. You start confusing the act with reality. And one day, you realize something terrifying. You no longer know who you are without the mask. Let me tell you something that breaks every rule you were taught about love, friendship, and family. Nobody needs you to break in order to love you. Nobody authentic, at least. Because if someone only accepts you when you shrink, when you stay quiet, when you disappear to make room for them, that's not love. That's control. That's comfort. That's selfishness disguised as connection. And you weren't born to be the filler for other people's emptiness. You're not here to become what others need while abandoning who you are. You weren't made to complete anyone. You're here to live yourself fully, with everything that means, with your contradictions, with your edges, with everything that makes you unique, even if not everyone likes it. The Stoics understood this in a brutal way. Epictetus, who spent most of his life as a slave before becoming one of the most respected philosophers in Rome, wrote, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and ignorant about external things." Do you know what he was really saying? That other people's opinions can't be your compass. If you keep adjusting yourself to what others think, you'll never live your own life. You'll live the version of it they approve of. And that version, no matter how comfortable it is for them, will slowly kill you inside. Quietly. No drama. Just one day after another feeling less like yourself, less present, less alive. Think about this, my friend. How many times have you changed your opinion in a conversation because you felt yours wouldn't be well received? How many times have you stayed silent when you wanted to scream? How many times have you said, "I don't care," when deep down you cared a lot? Every time you do that, every time you swallow what you really think or feel, you send yourself a devastating message. What I believe doesn't matter. What I feel doesn't count. I'm not worth enough to defend my truth. And that message sticks. It builds. It becomes a belief. And once that belief settles in, You start living like you truly don't matter. Like your job is to be useful to others. Like your worth depends on how much you adapt, how much you give in, how much you disappear. Does that sound familiar? Of course it does, because we've all done it. We've all sacrificed pieces of ourselves in the name of harmony, of peace, of I don't want drama. And maybe in the moment it seemed smart, it seemed mature, it seemed necessary. But look at the results. Look at how much of yourself you lost in the process. Look at how many dreams you shelved because they didn't fit with what others expected from you. Look at how many versions of yourself you buried so others could feel comfortable. And here comes the part that really hurts. Those people you broke yourself for, are they still around? Are they still in your life? Many aren't. Many left. And you were left behind with the pieces, trying to remember who you were before you started falling apart. Marcus Aurelius, in the middle of his responsibilities as emperor, wrote something that should be carved in stone. What doesn't benefit the hive doesn't benefit the bee. And yes, it's true, we need community. We need connection. Humans are social by nature. But here's the part many forget. That connection can't be built on your disappearance. It can't work if you have to vanish for others to shine. Because when you lose yourself, when you run empty, what you're offering isn't real connection. It's dependency. It's toxic attachment. It's a relationship where one holds the other up while slowly falling apart. And that isn't sustainable. That's not living. Maybe you've seen this happen with someone close to you. That person who completely changed when they got into a relationship, who stopped seeing their friends, who gave up their hobbies, who changed how they dressed, how they spoke, how they thought, who fused so completely with someone else that they stopped existing as an individual. At first, maybe people called it love, commitment, sacrifice. But over time, something changed. That person started to dim. Their voice sounded different. They moved like they were carrying invisible weight. And they were. They were carrying the weight of abandoning themselves, of deciding that to be loved, they had to stop being who they were. Do you think that's love? Do you think that's connection? No. That's being lost. And you can get lost in a romantic relationship, yes, but also in a friendship, a job, a family. You can get lost in any space where you feel you're only acceptable if you change. And the trap is that it works at first. You adapt, and they accept you. You shapeshift, and they include you. You stay silent, and you avoid conflict. But over time, something starts breaking inside. You start feeling anger you can't explain, resentment toward people you claim to love, emptiness in the middle of company. Do you know why? Because you can't betray yourself without consequences. You can't live denying who you are without paying the price. Your body feels it, your mind knows it, your soul screams it. And then you hit that point, that breaking moment, when you realize you don't know who you are anymore. When your likes reflect other people's likes, when your choices depend on external approval, when your entire life seems designed to please everyone but you. And that's when you have to choose. Keep going like this, comfortable in the lie, accepted in the performance, or start the journey back to yourself. And that journey, let me tell you, is not easy, because it means disappointing people. It means some will call you selfish. It means some relationships you thought were strong will fall apart, because they were built on your ability to disappear, not your truth. But it also means something much more valuable. You get yourself back. You start listening to yourself again. You start feeling like your life is yours again. So start here. Reclaim something you abandoned. That activity you gave up because your partner didn't like it. That hobby you shelved because your friends thought it was boring. That dream you put away because someone told you it wasn't practical. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you do it for you. That it's a decision that doesn't need approval, that doesn't require explanation. Just something that reconnects you with who you were before you started negotiating yourself away. And do this too. The next time you're about to change your opinion to avoid conflict, to be liked, To not make anyone uncomfortable, stop, breathe, and ask yourself, is this what I really think, or is it just what I believe I'm supposed to say? If it's the latter, take the risk. Dare to say your truth. Not with aggression, not with drama, but without censoring yourself. Say what you think, express how you feel. Take up space without apologizing for existing. And yes, some people won't get it. Some will feel uncomfortable. Some will question you. But those, the ones who get upset because you stopped being easy to mold, they're not your people. Your people, the real ones, will respect you more, will value you more, because they'll be connecting with you, not the edited version you thought they needed. Epictetus also said, "Don't ask that things happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and you'll be okay." And that applies here. You can't control how others react when you stop breaking yourself for them, but you can control whether you keep betraying yourself. And that decision is yours, completely yours. Because in the end, this is what matters. You weren't born to be the version of yourself that makes others comfortable. You were born to be you, fully. And if your authentic presence makes someone uncomfortable, that someone doesn't deserve your presence, nobody needs you to break in order to love you. And if they do, it isn't love. It's something else. Something that might look like love, might be called love, but it isn't. Real love, genuine love, the kind that's worth it, doesn't ask you to disappear. It invites you to show up. It celebrates all of you. It holds you even when you don't perfectly fit the mold. And that's what you deserve. Nothing less, never less. So stop breaking yourself, stop shrinking, stop giving yourself away in pieces hoping someone will value you. Show up whole and watch who stays, because the ones who stay, those are your people. The ones who leave, they're doing you a favor. You weren't born to complete anyone. You were born to live yourself fully, to inhabit your life without asking for permission, to walk alongside others, yes, but without losing yourself along the way. And when you do that, when you refuse to break for acceptance, something shifts. Your energy changes, your presence changes, and you finally come home to yourself. Lesson 8. You're fading away and nobody notices. A few weeks ago, I met up with someone I hadn't seen in years. We sat down for coffee, talked about everything and nothing. Work, family, how fast time flies, a polite surface-level conversation. But then there was a moment, a strange silence, and he said something that stuck with me for days. You know what's weird? I feel like I've done everything right. Studied what I was supposed to. Got the job I supposedly wanted. Got married, had kids. Live where I'm supposed to live, but I don't recognize myself. I don't know when it happened, but I stopped resembling me. And he just sat there, staring at his coffee, like he just realized something he'd been ignoring for years. That's what happens when you burn out. There's no big dramatic moment, no obvious crisis. Just day after day you start losing your color, your voice, that spark that made you unique. And the most dangerous part is you keep functioning. You go to work, handle your responsibilities, answer messages, smile when you're supposed to. On the outside, everything looks fine, but inside, something's been slowly fading, and you don't even know exactly when it started. Maybe it was when you stopped reading because you were always too tired, or when you shelved that personal project because it was never the right time, or when you stopped seeing those friends who made you laugh because your schedule couldn't fit them in, or when your automatic response to "how are you" became "good, busy," and it didn't mean anything anymore. Small abandonments, tiny concessions, things that didn't feel important at the time, but added up they drained you, and now you're here, functioning, performing, existing, but not really living. And the scariest part? No one notices, because you've learned to act so well that even you believe the performance. You've perfected the art of looking fine while quietly falling apart inside. The Stoics talked about this, about living on autopilot, about existing without presence. Marcus Aurelius, amid all his duties as emperor, wrote himself this warning: stop debating what it means to be a good man. Be one. He wrote that because he saw it, how easy it is to lose yourself, how easy it is to spend your days filling roles, meeting expectations, playing the part, while the real person underneath slowly fades away. Because that's what happens. You become your function, your job, your role. You're the dad, the mom, the employee, the responsible child, the always available friend. But beneath all those roles, who are you? When was the last time you did something just because you wanted to? Not because you had to, not because it was expected, not because it was the responsible thing, just because you wanted to. When was the last time you felt genuine excitement about something? Not relief for finishing, not satisfaction for completing, real excitement. That feeling of being alive, being present, of thinking, this is life. If you can't remember, if you have to dig through your memory to find a moment like that, then here's what you need to hear. You're burning out. And if you don't do something soon, you'll get to a point where you won't even know how to reignite. Seneca wrote something devastating. While we waste our time hesitating and postponing, life is slipping away. And that's exactly what happens. You think you'll live later. After this project, after things settle, after the kids grow up, after retirement, later. But later never comes, because there's always something else. Always another reason to delay your life. And meanwhile, the years pass, and you're still there, waiting, functioning, not living. And the worst part is that you normalize it. You tell yourself that's just how it is, that this is adulthood, that being responsible means life stops being exciting or meaningful. It just becomes about showing up day after day. But that's a lie. That's not maturity. It's surrender. It's handing over your life to routine, to expectations, to the fear of doing something different. Think about who you were 10 years ago. What excited you? What did you dream about? How did you talk about your future? Now look at who you are today. Are they similar? Or did you leave that person behind somewhere? And I'm not talking about change. Change is natural. I'm talking about fading, about losing the essence that made you you, about becoming a diluted, tired, resigned version of who you used to be. Epictetus, who experienced literal slavery before gaining his freedom, understood something vital. You can be free on the outside and enslaved on the inside. You can have full control over your life on paper, but be completely disconnected from yourself in reality. And that's what's happening when you fade. You have your life, your things, your routines, but you don't have you. Because somewhere along the way, you got lost. So how do you come back? How do you find the person you left behind? First, you have to do something uncomfortable. Admit it. Admit that you're not okay, that it's not just exhaustion, that it's not just a phase, that something real has broken and it needs attention. And that admission hurts, because it means facing the fact that you've been running on autopilot, that you've let your life become something you never wanted, that you've betrayed yourself in ways you didn't want to see. But that admission is also freeing, because once you name what's happening, once you stop pretending everything's fine, you can finally do something about it. Second, you need to do a brutal audit of your life. Look at your typical week, every activity, every commitment, every hour spent, and ask yourself, with ruthless honesty, how much of this do I actually want to do? And how much am I just doing out of habit? And here's what you'll find. Most of what you do you never really chose. It just started at some point and you never questioned it. It became routine, obligation, just how it is. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can choose differently. You can let go. Say no. Reclaim time, energy, and space for the things that truly matter. Third, you need to reconnect with what makes you feel alive. And no, I'm not talking about big things. You don't have to quit your job and move to the mountains. I'm talking about small things that remind you you're still there. It could be going back to the music you used to love, picking up that hobby you abandoned, spending time with someone who makes you laugh, really laugh, or simply sitting in silence with no agenda, no need to be useful to anyone. Whatever it is that brings you back to yourself, that reminds you you're still alive. Fourth, You need to break the routine, because routine is anesthesia. It keeps you functioning but disconnects you from feeling. Do something different. It doesn't have to be big. Take a new route to work. Try a different restaurant. Talk to someone you never talked to. Small disruptions that wake up your brain, that pull you out of autopilot. Because when you break routine, even just a little, your brain wakes up. You start noticing again. You start being present again. Fifth, and this is crucial, you need people who see you, who really know you, who can tell when you're fading and will actually say something. Because it's easy to get lost when nobody's really looking, when all your interactions are shallow, when no one asks how you really are beyond the automatic good. You need people who know you well enough to notice when something shifts, who care enough to confront you when you start abandoning yourself. And if you don't have those people right now, you need to find them, build those connections. Because you can't do this alone. You also need to start listening to yourself again, to pay attention to what you feel, what you think, what you want. Because you've spent so much time ignoring yourself that you've lost touch with your own voice. So start simple. Every day ask yourself, what do I need today? And then listen. Don't judge the answer. Don't dismiss it. Just listen. Maybe it's rest, maybe it's movement, maybe it's solitude, maybe it's company, maybe it changes every day. But ask, listen, and respond when you can. Because when you start listening again, when you start responding to your own needs, something stirs. You begin to reconnect with yourself. And finally, you need to do something that scares you a little. Something that takes you out of your comfort zone. Something that reminds you you can still grow, still change, still evolve. It doesn't have to be huge. Maybe it's signing up for that class you've always wanted to take, starting that project you've been putting off for years, having that hard conversation you've been avoiding. Whatever it is, let it make you feel vulnerable. Let it make you feel alive. Because when you fade, when you become safe and predictable and comfortable, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you start dying. Slowly, quietly, but surely. Marcus Aurelius also wrote, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." And if your thoughts are always "I have to," "I should," "I'm supposed to," then your life becomes just that, an endless list of obligations. But if your thoughts start to include "I want to," "I choose to," "this matters to me," then your life starts to shift. It becomes yours again. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Yes, it will be scary. Yes, some people won't get it. They'll question you, tell you you're being irresponsible, selfish. But you'll know the truth. You'll know you're not being selfish, you're being honest. You're choosing to live, not just function. You're deciding that your life will be yours, not a script written by someone else. And that decision, that choice to reignite, might just be the most important moment of your life. Because you're fading. And if you don't act, you'll get to the end of your life and realize you never truly lived. You just performed. You just functioned. But there's still time. You're still here. There's still a spark, however small, waiting to be reignited. So reignite it. Do whatever it takes to feel alive again. Because you deserve more than a life on autopilot. You deserve to live. Really live. And that starts today, right now, with one decision, one action, one moment where you say, enough, because it's time to shine again. Lesson 9. Strength isn't pretending it doesn't hurt. There's an image we've been sold about the Stoics. The image of a stone man, unshaken, unmoving, the one who receives the most devastating news with the same expression he'd have while sipping tea, the one who doesn't cry, who doesn't break, who endures everything in absolute silence while the world collapses around him. That image is a lie, a dangerous lie that has caused incalculable harm. Because the Stoics were not made of stone, they were human, with everything that means. They felt fear, they felt pain, sadness, anxiety, loss. The difference wasn't that they didn't feel, it's that they understood what they felt. And they didn't let those emotions govern them without their consent. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful emperor of Rome, the man who literally held the world in his hands, wrote in his private journals about his deepest fears, about his exhaustion, about the loneliness he felt even when surrounded by thousands, about his doubts, his sadness. He didn't do it for publication. He wasn't looking for likes or validation. He did it because he understood something fundamental. Denying what you feel is the fastest way to self-destruction. Because what you deny doesn't disappear, it just gets buried. And what's buried eventually explodes. Imagine it. In the middle of a military campaign, in his tent, surrounded by the noise of an entire camp, thousands of soldiers waiting on his orders, generals awaiting his decisions, the weight of an entire empire on his shoulders, and he, in the privacy of his space, took his journal and wrote, "Today I feel like I can't go on. Today the weight is too much. Today I'm afraid." Not to complain, not to victimize himself, but to be honest with himself. To not pretend everything was fine when it wasn't, because he understood that pretending to be strong is not strength, it's denial, and denial weakens you more than any external enemy. But look at what we do. Look at how we live. Someone asks us, "How are you?" And we automatically reply, "I'm fine," even though we're falling apart inside. We smile in meetings while carrying a weight that's killing us. We act like everything's under control while screaming for help on the inside. And the worst part? We do it so well that we start to believe it ourselves. We convince ourselves that we're fine, that we can handle it all, that we don't need anything or anyone. And so, day after day, we accumulate unprocessed pain, unreleased stress, unspoken emotions, until one day something small breaks you, a minor criticism, a tiny setback, and you explode disproportionately. And you're left there, surprised by your own reaction, not understanding where all that emotion came from. But you do know where it came from. It came from all those days of pretending, from all those times you swallowed what you felt, from all the times you told yourself you were okay when you weren't. Seneca, another of the great Stoics, said it with striking clarity. You must mix a little madness with your prudence. Do you know what he meant? That you can't live constantly controlled, measured, perfect. That you need moments where you let go, where you let out what you carry inside, where you allow yourself to be human. He also wrote something even more direct. Suffering that is hidden becomes worse. Because when you hide your pain, when you pretend it doesn't exist, it doesn't disappear. It festers, it infects. It becomes something far worse than it originally was. Think about it, my friend. How many times have you stayed silent when you wanted to scream? How many times have you smiled when you wanted to cry? How many times have you said, "I'm fine," when everything in you was screaming that you weren't? And maybe you do it for valid reasons. Because you don't want to be a burden. Because you think no one really wants to hear your problems. Because you were taught that complaining is weak. Because admitting you're not okay feels like admitting failure. But here's the truth. Pretending to be okay when you're not isn't strength. It's cowardice in disguise. Because it takes more courage to be honest about your pain than to hide it behind a smile. I'm not saying you have to become an open book with everyone. I'm not saying you should vent to strangers or spill your life on social media. I'm saying something more fundamental. Stop lying to yourself. You can fool others. You can act. You can wear the mask long enough that no one notices you're breaking. But you can't lie to yourself without consequences. Your body knows. Your mind knows. And eventually, it will catch up to you. In the form of anxiety that appears out of nowhere. In unexplained insomnia. In illnesses with no clear medical cause. In emotional outbursts that don't match the situation. The Stoics valued friendship precisely for this. They saw it as a sacred space where you could be real, where you didn't have to pretend, where you could show your cracks without fear of judgment. Epictetus taught his students, "If you want to improve, abandon these thoughts. If I care for myself, no one will help me." It's better to be hungry without anxiety or fear than to live in abundance with turmoil. What was he saying? That it's better to be honest about your state, even if that means admitting vulnerability, than to live in a comfortable lie. because a comfortable lie eventually becomes unbearable. And here's what really changes everything. When you finally admit that you're not okay, when you stop pretending, something gets released. It's like dropping a weight you didn't know you were carrying, like breathing after being underwater for too long. Not immediately, not magically, but deeply. Because when you admit your pain, when you name it, when you stop hiding it, it loses its grip on you. You no longer have to spend energy keeping it a secret. You no longer have to live in constant fear that someone will find out you're not as strong as you appear. But wait a moment. How do you stop pretending after years, maybe decades, of doing it? There's something you need to start doing now. You need to create a private space where you can be brutally honest with yourself. And the most powerful way to do this is to write. Do what Marcus Aurelius did. Every day, even just 10 minutes, write how you really feel. No filter, no editing, no trying to sound good or seem okay. Just raw truth. Today I feel overwhelmed. I'm afraid I'm not enough. I'm tired of pretending. I don't know if I can keep going. When you write it down, when you pull it out of your head and put it on paper, something shifts. It's no longer a nebulous thought chasing you. It's something concrete you can see, examine, and understand. And from that place of honesty, you can start making real decisions. Not from denial, but from truth. Even if it's hard, you need to find at least one person you can be real with. Just one. You don't need a whole support group. Just one person who knows you enough, values you enough for you to say, "I'm not okay," without them trying to fix you or minimize you. That person doesn't need answers. They don't need to solve your problems. They just need to be there, to listen, to hold space for your truth. Because when you share your pain with someone who really sees you, when you let someone witness your struggle, you're no longer alone in it. And that companionship, that simple act of being seen in your vulnerability, has a healing power you won't find anywhere else. Also, you need to learn to recognize the signs. Your body is constantly talking to you. Tension in your shoulders, knots in your stomach, clenched jaw, insomnia, inexplicable irritability. These aren't random annoyances. They're messages. Your nervous system saying, "Hey, something's wrong, I need attention." And when you ignore those messages, when you pop another pill and push through, when you say, "It'll pass," those signals get louder. They become more serious symptoms, and eventually a crisis. So listen, pay attention, and when your body tells you something's wrong, believe it. Don't minimize it. Don't ignore it. Address it. Fourth, you need to allow yourself to feel, really feel, without judging yourself, without trying to fix it right away, without labeling it good or bad. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to scream, find a place where you can. If you need to stay in bed for a day, do it. Not as an escape, but as recognition that you're human and humans have limits. And yes, this goes against everything you were taught. You were taught that feelings are weakness, that showing emotion is losing control, that strong people don't break. But all of that is a lie. Strong people feel deeply. The difference is, they don't let those feelings rule them, but they don't deny them either. Marcus Aurelius also wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it, and you have the power to revoke that judgment now." What he was really saying is this: your emotions are valid, but they're not commands. You can feel fear and still act with courage. You can feel sadness and still move forward. You can feel pain and still choose not to drown in it. The key is to acknowledge what you feel without letting it define you. And you can only do that when you first admit it's there. You have to stop equating emotional honesty with weakness. They're opposites. It's easy to fake it, to smile and say you're fine, to hide your pain behind distractions. That doesn't take strength. That takes denial. What takes strength is admitting, "I'm not okay and I need help." That's real courage. That's real strength. And when you finally allow yourself to be honest, when you stop pretending, something extraordinary happens. The people who truly value you come closer. But the ones who were only there for your perfect version drift away. And that's not a loss. That's a release, because you don't need people in your life who can only handle you when you're pretending to be okay. And you also need to understand this. Being okay is not a permanent state. Life is hard. It has dark moments. It has loss. It has inevitable pain. And pretending you must always be fine is a recipe for constant misery. The Stoics never promised constant happiness. They promised equanimity, the ability to move through whatever comes without losing your center. But moving through doesn't mean pretending it doesn't hurt. It means feeling the pain and moving forward anyway. Seneca also wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." And he was right. Because there are days when simply staying alive, getting out of bed, taking one more step, requires every ounce of strength you have. And on those days, pretending everything's fine doesn't make you strong. It makes you a liar, to yourself, to others, to life itself. So stop pretending, not with everyone, not all the time, but always with yourself. Be brutally honest about how you are, about what you feel, about what you need. And when someone asks how you're doing, dare to be real now and then. You don't have to give details, you don't have to explain, but you can say, honestly, I'm not okay, and leave it at that if you want. Because that honesty, that simple act of naming your truth, is the first step to healing, to reconnecting with yourself, to stop living in constant performance. Strength is not pretending it doesn't hurt. Strength is feeling the pain and not letting it define you. It's walking through darkness without denying that it's dark. And that's what the Stoics did. They didn't deny. They didn't pretend. They felt. They recognized. And from that place of brutal honesty with themselves, they found the strength to keep going. So stop pretending everything's okay when it's not. Because real strength begins when you allow yourself to be real. With yourself first, and then with others. And when you finally do, when you drop the mask, something is freed. Not the pain, necessarily, but the burden of hiding it. And that relief, that freedom to be honest about your struggle, is worth more than 1,000 perfect masks. Stop pretending, be real, and discover that the strength you were looking for was right there all along, in your ability to be vulnerable, to be human, to be true. Lesson 10. You can't give what you don't have. The equation is simple, so simple it hurts. You can't give what you haven't first given yourself. You can't offer what you don't possess. You can't pour from an empty chest. But you live as if that basic law doesn't apply to you. As if somehow you're the exception. As if you can give and give and give without ever receiving, without ever filling up, without ever taking care of yourself. You try to give love when inside you feel empty. When it's been months since anyone truly asked how you are. When you haven't given yourself even a moment of tenderness. You try to offer patience when all you show yourself is brutal self-demand. When your inner dialogue is a stream of constant criticism. When every mistake you make is unforgivable, but everyone else's mistakes you excuse with ease. You try to be available for everyone when you're not even available for yourself. When you're always last on your own list of priorities. When your own well-being is something you'll get to when there's time, and that time never comes. It's like trying to fill cups with an empty pitcher. You can tilt the pitcher all you want, you can try hard, you can force it with everything you've got. But if there's nothing inside, nothing comes out. And what does come out, if anything, isn't enough for anyone. Not for them, not for you. The Stoics were not cold, detached statues as some imagine. They didn't preach isolation or indifference. On the contrary, they deeply valued human relationships, community, and service to others. But they understood something fundamental that we've forgotten. That in order to give to others in a genuine way, you first have to be okay yourself. You can't hold anyone else up if you're broken. You can't light the way for others if your own flame has gone out. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee." And yes, it's a statement about community, how we're all connected, how our individual well-being affects the whole. But there's more to it, something often overlooked. If the bee is exhausted, if the bee is neglected, if the bee gives away all its honey without keeping any for itself, then the bee dies. And when it dies, it can no longer contribute to the hive. It can no longer help. It can no longer be part of anything. Do you see it now? Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's the only way you can truly serve something greater than yourself. Because you can't give from emptiness. You can only give from fullness. And here's what really hurts. How many times you've tried to give when you were empty? How many times you've forced a smile when you were collapsing inside? How many times you've said yes to others when your body was screaming no? And those times, what you gave wasn't genuine. It couldn't be, because it didn't come from abundance. It came from obligation, from guilt, from fear of disappointing someone. And it shows. Maybe others don't name it, but they feel it. They feel your presence isn't really there, that your help comes with buried resentment, that your generosity has an invisible cost they'll eventually be asked to pay. Because when you give from exhaustion, from sacrifice, from scarcity, you create an emotional debt. Not consciously, not intentionally, but real. And eventually that debt is collected in the form of outbursts, of complaints that seem to come from nowhere, of, "After all I've done for you," thrown out during an argument, of resentment poisoning even the best of relationships. Epictetus, who lived as a slave before gaining his freedom, understood this deeply. He wrote, "We cannot learn what we think we already know." And it applies perfectly here. If you believe you can give without refilling, if you believe constant sacrifice is a virtue, if you believe putting yourself first is selfish, then there's nothing new you can learn, because you already have all the answers, even if those answers are destroying you. But if you can question that belief, if you can ask, "What if I'm wrong?" then everything can change. Modern psychology has confirmed what the Stoics already knew. Barbara Fredrickson, one of the leading researchers in positive emotions, has shown that when you're in a good internal state, when you're cared for, when you're emotionally well, your ability to connect with others expands exponentially. You don't just give more, you give better. You give from a place that truly nourishes, that truly helps, that truly transforms. But when you're drained, when you're at your limit, when you're completely depleted, what you give is just noise, a mechanical version of help. The form is there, but the essence is gone. Think about it. Have you ever tried to comfort someone when you were shattered inside? Tried to be patient when your patience had long run out? Tried to encourage someone when your own hope was gone? How did it go? Probably not well. Because you can't give what you don't have, and here's the most important part. This isn't your fault. You're not a bad person. It's not that you don't care. It's just emotional physics. You can't break the laws of reality just because you have good intentions. So you need to do something radical. You need to start filling yourself up before trying to fill others. You need to care for yourself with the same intensity you care for those you love. You need to treat yourself like someone who matters. And yes, that sounds simple, but it isn't. Because you've had years, maybe decades, of programming telling you otherwise. That thinking of yourself is selfish. That putting yourself first is abandoning others. That caring for yourself is a luxury you can't afford. But all of that is a lie. A lie you've heard so often, you've mistaken it for truth. The truth is this: when you're well, everyone around you benefits. When you're full, you can overflow. When you're at peace, it's contagious. When you've given yourself what you need, you can give to others from abundance, not lack. To break this pattern of giving until you're empty, you have to do something that will feel unnatural at first. You have to put yourself on your own priority list, not last, first. Non-negotiable. That means concrete actions. It means that before you say yes to any request, you ask, "Do I have the energy for this? Does this add to me or take from me? Can I give to this without sacrificing myself?" And if the answer is no, then your answer to the request is also no. No guilt, no explanations, just honesty. Next, you need to identify what fills you, because it's different for everyone. For some, it's alone time. For others, it's time with loved ones. For some, it's movement. For others, stillness. What gives you back your energy? What makes you feel like yourself again? What activities leave you better than when you started? Identify them, then schedule them. With the same seriousness you'd schedule a medical appointment or an important meeting. Because this is like a doctor's visit. It's maintenance. It's what you need to keep going. And if you don't prioritize it, you will eventually break down. Third, you have to learn to receive. Because giving and receiving are two sides of the same coin. If you only give, if you never receive, if you reject help when it's offered, you break the natural cycle. And yes, receiving can be uncomfortable, especially if you've built your identity around being the giver, the helper, the always available one. Accepting help feels like admitting weakness, like losing control, but it's not. It's recognizing you're human, that you have limits, that you have needs, and that it's okay to need. So next time someone offers to help, accept it. Don't minimize. Don't insist you're fine. Just accept and watch what happens. Probably nothing dramatic, just a small recharge, a small breath, a small reminder that you don't have to do it all alone. Like I said earlier, you have to examine your relationships. Because some people only know how to take. They only show up when they need something. They disappear when you're the one in need. And those relationships drain you. Not necessarily out of malice, just because the flow is one way. You give, they take. There's no reciprocity. You don't have to end them dramatically. But you do have to set boundaries. Reduce your availability. Protect your energy. Because your energy is finite, and you deserve to spend it on relationships that nourish you too. My friend, one last thing. You need to forgive yourself for all the times you gave from emptiness. For all the times you weren't truly present because you were exhausted. For all the times you failed because you didn't care for yourself first. Because when you understand that you can't give what you don't have, you also understand that many of your failures weren't failures. They were impossibilities. You were trying to do the impossible. And no one can do the impossible, no matter how hard they try. So, let it go. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the "I should have been able to." And accept the truth. You need to be full to be able to give. And that's not weakness. That's emotional physics. Marcus Aurelius also wrote, "Each morning when you wake up, tell yourself, 'Today I will meet intrusive, ungrateful, violent, deceptive, envious, antisocial people. All of this happens because they are ignorant of good and evil.'" Then he adds something crucial. "But I, who have seen the nature of good, that it is beautiful, and of evil, that it is ugly, and the nature of the wrongdoer himself, who is my kin, cannot be harmed by any of them." What is he saying? That when you are whole, when you've done your inner work, when you've taken care of yourself, when you're at peace with yourself, other people's actions don't drain you the same way. Not because you're insensitive, but because you are full. And from that fullness you can give without emptying yourself. You can help without sacrificing. You can be there for others without losing yourself in the process. That's what changes everything. Not giving less, giving better. Giving from a place that is sustainable, that is real, that is genuine. Because in the end, people don't need your sacrifice. They need your presence. They need the version of you that is whole, that is present, that is truly there. And that version only exists when you've given yourself what you need. Don't put it off any longer. Don't say you'll do it another day, not tomorrow, today. Do one thing for yourself. One thing that fills you, that nourishes you, that reminds you that you matter too. It can be small, it can be simple, but it has to be for you, because you can't give what you don't have. And it's time to start filling up, so that when you do give, it's from abundance, not from emptiness. And then everything you touch will be different, better, real, Because it comes from a place of fullness. From you, whole. Lesson number 11. You stopped being a person and became a function. There was a moment in my life when I stopped recognizing myself. It wasn't dramatic. There was no clear crisis. I just realized that whenever someone asked me who I was, my immediate answer was my job. I'm a screenwriter. And then, if the conversation went on, I'd add my other roles: son, brother, friend. But I never got to me. To the me underneath all those labels. Because honestly, I no longer knew who that was. One day, a close friend asked me a question that left me speechless. He asked what I liked to do when I wasn't working, and I just stood there, mouth open, with no answer. Because I didn't do anything when I wasn't working. Even when I wasn't working, I was thinking about work, or recovering from work, or getting ready for the next job. My entire life revolved around production, around how much I did, how much I delivered, how much I achieved. And somewhere along the way, without realizing it, I stopped being a person. I became a function, a role, a machine that kept producing and producing until the fuel ran out. Then I forced myself to keep running anyway. And the scariest part is that this doesn't make me unique. We're all trapped in this deeply rooted belief that we are worth what we produce. That if we're not performing, not delivering, not showing constant results, then we don't deserve to be here. We don't deserve rest. We don't deserve peace. We don't deserve anything. Look at how you talk to yourself after an unproductive day, when for some reason you don't check off every item on your list. When you sit still for an hour doing nothing, what do you tell yourself? Probably something like, I wasted the day, or what a waste, or I didn't do anything useful. As if your existence only has value when it's producing something measurable, quantifiable, provable. And this mindset is killing you. Slowly, without you noticing, because you've turned your worth into something conditional, something you have to earn every single day, something you can lose if you don't meet some arbitrary standard of productivity. The Stoics lived in a time where productivity was also valued. Rome didn't build its empire by resting, but they understood something we've completely forgotten: that there's a fundamental difference between action and agitation, between doing what matters and doing just to do, between living with purpose and living like an automaton. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who literally had an empire to run, wrote something that should be etched into the mind of anyone who measures themselves by their productivity. Do not be disturbed unnecessarily by the future. You will meet it, if you must, with the same reason that guides you in the present. Do you know what he's saying? That being constantly worried about doing more, achieving more, producing more, it's an unnecessary disturbance. Your worth doesn't increase just because your calendar is full. You'll face what comes when it comes, without needing to live in constant anxiety to prove your value. But this goes deeper. Because it's not just that you measure yourself by your productivity, it's that you've allowed that measure to define who you are. You've let your accomplishments, or lack of them, determine whether you deserve love, respect, rest, happiness. And that means you never really rest. Because even when you are resting, there's a voice in your head telling you that you should be doing something more useful, that you're wasting time, that others are getting ahead while you fall behind. That voice is poison, and you've internalized it so deeply that you don't even question it anymore. You just obey. You wake up earlier. You go to bed later. You fill every minute. You multitask until your brain feels like a fog, and you tell yourself, this is how it has to be. That this is what successful people do, that if you're not exhausted, you're not working hard enough. But let me ask you something. What for? What is all that effort for? What is all that constant production building toward? And for whom? Because if your answer is that you're building a good life, let me be blunt. A good life doesn't come from exhaustion. It doesn't come from denying your basic needs. It doesn't come from turning every moment into an opportunity to produce. A good life is built from balance, from knowing when to act and when to stop, from respecting your natural rhythms, from understanding that you are human, not a machine, and humans weren't designed for constant output. We were designed for cycles, for moments of action followed by moments of rest, for periods of intensity followed by periods of calm. Look at nature. Everything works in cycles, the seasons, day and night, the tides. Everything has its time of activity and its time of stillness. But you try to always be in summer, always in daylight, always at high tide. And then you're surprised when your body rebels, when your mind shuts down, when something inside you breaks and forces you to stop. Epictetus, who knew both slavery and freedom, wrote, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few needs." And this fits perfectly with productivity. True freedom doesn't lie in doing more. It lies in needing less in order to feel worthy. So, are you ready to stop measuring your worth by your output? You need to do something radical. You need to allow yourself to exist without justification. You need to give yourself permission to have days where you do nothing productive and still feel like that day was valuable. Because you were alive, because you breathed, because you existed. And I know it sounds simple, but it's the hardest thing you can do. Because you've got years of conditioning telling you the opposite. Years of messages equating your worth with your productivity. Years of believing that if you're not doing, you're not being. So start questioning that voice. Every time it says, "You should be doing something more useful," ask it, useful for what? For whom? By whose standard? And you'll notice that voice doesn't have real answers. It just has fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being discarded. Fear of not mattering. You also need to redefine what a well-lived day looks like. Because right now, you probably define a good day as one where you checked off all your tasks, where you were productive, where you got things done. But what if a good day were one where you listened to yourself, where you respected your limits, where you gave yourself what you needed instead of what you should do, where you were present instead of running on autopilot through an endless agenda? When you start measuring your days like that, when you value your presence more than your production, everything changes. Not instantly, not magically, but deeply. Because you start noticing things you used to overlook. The taste of your coffee instead of gulping it down while checking emails. The feel of the sun on your face instead of rushing from one place to another without looking up. The sound of someone you love laughing instead of mentally scrolling through your to-do list while pretending to listen. And those moments, those small, real moments of presence, those are what make a life worthwhile. Not your achievements, not your resume, not how many things you checked off today. You also need something else. You need to reconnect with parts of yourself that have nothing to do with producing, with parts that exist purely for the joy of existing. When was the last time you did something with no objective, no goal, no reason other than you simply wanted to do it, without thinking about how it would make you better, more productive, more successful? You probably can't even remember, because you've turned every activity into something that has to serve a purpose, that has to have a return, that has to be justified. But there's a kind of joy that only comes from doing things for no reason, from playing with no purpose, from creating without an objective, from existing without needing to prove anything. And you've lost that. You sacrificed it on the altar of productivity. And now you wonder why nothing truly satisfies you. Why even when you achieve something, the satisfaction fades so quickly. Why you always need the next win, the next goal, the next proof that you matter. It's because you're seeking external validation to cover an internal emptiness. And that emptiness only fills when you reconnect with your intrinsic worth. When you understand, really understand, that you are worthy just because you exist, not because you produce. Marcus Aurelius also wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." And he was right. The difference between living exhausted, chasing external validation, and living at peace with yourself lies in how you think about your own worth. If you believe you have to earn it every day, you'll live in constant anxiety. Because there's always more to do. Someone's always doing more. There's always some way you could be more productive. But if you understand that your worth is inherent, that it's there simply because you exist, then you can relax. You can do what makes sense to do without the constant pressure to prove yourself. And this doesn't make you lazy. It doesn't make you less capable. In fact, it makes you more effective. Because when you act from a place of wholeness instead of lack, when you work because you want to, not because you have something to prove, your work is better, clearer, more authentic. So give yourself permission. Permission to have quiet days. Permission to do less. Permission to exist without producing. Permission to value yourself even when you're not meeting that impossible standard you've imposed on yourself. And watch what happens. Probably fear at first. Probably guilt. Probably that voice telling you you're being irresponsible, lazy, wasting time. Don't listen to it. That voice is wrong. That voice is the leftover echo of a system that sees you as a resource, not as a person. And you are a person, whole, valuable, deserving to exist without having to justify it with constant output. Your worth does not depend on your productivity. It never did. It never will. And it's time you start living like that's true. Because it is. You are more than what you do. You are more than your job. You are more than your achievements. You are you. And that, my friend, is enough. It always has been. Lesson number 12. The paradox no one tells you about. The Stoics understood this in a way we've completely forgotten. They understood that real change doesn't begin with brute force. It begins with acceptance. And not acceptance as resignation. Acceptance as a truthful recognition of where you actually are. Seneca wrote, "It's not because things are difficult that we don't dare. It's because we don't dare that things are difficult." And what he was saying is this: when you resist your reality, when you deny where you are, when you pretend you should already be somewhere else, you make everything infinitely harder. But when you accept it, when you say, "This is where I am right now," no sugarcoating, no excuses, no denial, then you can actually start to move from that real place, from solid ground, not from a fantasy of where you think you should be. And this is counterintuitive, because we've been taught that acceptance means giving up, that if you accept your current situation, you'll get stuck there, that the only way to change is to violently reject where you are and force yourself into who you want to be. But that doesn't work. It never has. And if you think about it, you've probably tried it 100 times. You've rejected yourself, punished yourself, pushed yourself. And where has it led? Probably to more frustration, more guilt, more feeling like a failure. Because change that comes from rejection isn't sustainable. It's like building a house on sand. You can put up the walls, you can build the roof, but when the storm comes, it all collapses. Because the foundation was never solid. The kind of change that lasts, the kind that truly transforms, starts with acceptance, with honestly seeing where you are, with acknowledging your limits, with admitting your struggles, with stopping the act of pretending to be something you're not. Picture this. It's 6 in the morning. Your alarm goes off. You open your eyes and the first thing you feel isn't energy for the new day. It's that familiar weight on your chest. That thought that hits you before you even get up. I failed again yesterday. I wasn't who I promised I'd be. You drag yourself out of bed carrying invisible chains. You look in the bathroom mirror and there it is, that disappointed look you give yourself. And then the internal monologue starts. That brutal speech you'd never say out loud but repeat in your head like a poisonous mantra. Today, yes. Today will be different. Today, I'll be disciplined. Today, I'll follow through. Today, I'll be who I'm supposed to be. You get ready with that forced determination. You make your coffee, telling yourself this time you'll do it, that this time you won't slip. You glance at your never-ending to-do list and promise yourself you'll check everything off. No excuses, no weakness. You leave the house wearing that invisible armor. Today, I can handle everything. And for the first few hours, it works. You keep the pace. You deliver, you produce, you feel almost victorious. See, you tell yourself, you could do it. You just needed to try harder. But then midday comes. Fatigue starts to creep in. That task you thought would be quick becomes complicated. Someone asks you for something unexpected. Your energy starts to fade, and you feel the morning's determination slipping away. You try to hold on. You demand more from yourself. You push with that inner whip. No, you can't stop now. You promised today would be different. But your body's tired. Your mind is cloudy. And slowly you start to fall behind. One task goes unfinished. Another gets pushed to tomorrow. And that important project you were supposed to tackle? Again, it sits there, untouched. Night comes. You sit on your bed with a knot in your stomach. You look at your unchecked list, and here comes the blow. That merciless judgment you throw at yourself. You failed again. Once more, you weren't enough. If you truly wanted to change, you would have done it. If you had willpower, you'd succeed. But you don't. You're weak. You're a failure. And you go to bed with that weight, that self-disgust, that frustration of never being enough. And the next day, the alarm rings again, and the cycle starts all over. Day after day, week after week, month after month, years spent in this war against yourself. Years trying to force yourself to become someone you're honestly not even sure you can be. Years punishing yourself for not meeting a standard that maybe isn't even yours. Something you absorbed from others, from culture, from that voice that tells you you're never enough. Sound familiar? Of course it does, because this is how most of us live. In this constant battle against ourselves. In this exhausting cycle of promises, failures, and more promises. In this belief that change only comes by violently rejecting who you are now and forcing yourself to become who you should be. But let me tell you something, no one's ever told you this clearly. That method doesn't work. It never has. And if you're honest, you've probably been trying it for years and it hasn't gotten you where you want to be. It's only led to more frustration, more guilt, more failure, more self-hatred. Marcus Aurelius practiced this every day. In his private writings, he constantly reminded himself of his own humanity, his own limitations, his own struggles, not to wallow in them, but to stay grounded, to stay real, so he could act from a place of truth, not fantasy. And when you do that, when you accept yourself honestly, something paradoxical happens. You start to change more easily, not because you're forcing it, but because you're finally listening to yourself, finally working with yourself instead of against yourself. Think about trying to help someone who's in denial, someone who insists everything's fine when it clearly isn't. Can you help them? Not really, because to help, they first need to admit they need help. They need to recognize where they are. Same goes for you. If you deny your reality, if you pretend you don't need what you need, if you refuse to acknowledge your limits, you can't work with them. You can only fight them. And that fight drains you and gets you nowhere. But when you accept it, when you say, yes, this is hard for me, or yes, I need help here, or yes, I have this limit, then you can work with that information. You can design your life around your actual reality, not the one you think you should have. And from there, from that honest place, you can begin to expand. You can start to grow. But your starting point is solid. It's real. It's sustainable. Epictetus, who spent most of his life as a slave, understood this deeply. He wrote, "Do not seek for things to happen as you want them to. Rather, want them to happen as they do, and you will go well." And he wasn't promoting passivity. He was promoting something much more powerful. The ability to work with reality instead of against it. To accept what is so you can transform it. To recognize your true starting point so you can map out a real path forward. When I finally accepted that I was exhausted, that I'd been running on empty for years, that I needed real rest, not just a weekend, I could finally start doing something about it. Not instantly, not magically, but consistently. I reduced commitments, set real boundaries, gave myself permission to not always be available. And at first, it was terrifying. I thought if I slowed down, everything would fall apart, that I'd fall behind, that I'd lose everything I'd built. But the opposite happened. When I finally gave myself what I needed, when I stopped resisting my need for rest, I started functioning better. Not because I was doing more, but because I was doing it from a place of real energy, not forced willpower. And that's the paradox no one tells you about. You have to accept where you are to move forward. You have to acknowledge your limits to expand them. You have to be honest about your struggles in order to overcome them. Because when you deny, when you resist, when you pretend, you're building on lies. And those foundations eventually crack, eventually collapse, and then you're right back where you started, at the very place you refused to admit you were. But when you accept, when you build from truth, what you build lasts. Because it's rooted in reality, in who you really are, in where you really are, in what you actually need. And acceptance doesn't mean you have to like everything. It doesn't mean you can't want change. It means you're being honest about your starting point, that you stop fighting against reality, that you start working with what is instead of what you think should be. When I accepted that anxiety was part of me, that it wasn't going to disappear with willpower or positive thinking, I could finally learn how to live with it, understand it, respond to it instead of just resisting it. And paradoxically, when I stopped fighting it, it lost so much of its power over me. When I accepted that I have limits, that I can't do everything, that I need regular rest, I could start designing a life that respected those limits. And I became more effective, not less, because I wasn't wasting energy pretending I could handle it all. When I accepted that I'm human, with all the imperfections that implies, I stopped living under the constant pressure to be perfect. And that relief, that freedom to just be human, changed everything. So how do you start accepting? How do you stop resisting your reality? Give yourself permission to be honest. Brutally honest, no makeup, no stories to soften the truth. Look at where you really are, what you really feel, what you really need. And instead of judging it, just acknowledge it. This is where I am. This is what I feel. This is what I need. And when you start doing that, when you stop wasting energy resisting reality, that energy becomes available for movement, for change, for growth, not from rejection, from recognition. You also need to forgive yourself for not being who you think you should be, for not being where you think you should be, for having the struggles you have, because that lack of forgiveness, that constant "I'm not enough," keeps you stuck, keeps you fighting yourself instead of working with yourself. And when you forgive yourself, when you let go of that impossible standard, you can finally start moving from where you actually are, from who you actually are. And that movement, even if slower, is real. It's sustainable. It's yours. Carl Rogers, one of the most influential psychologists of the last century, put it perfectly. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. Do you get it? It's not acceptance or change. It's acceptance for change. Because when you accept yourself, when you stop resisting your reality, you gain the energy and clarity to transform it. But your starting point is solid. It's real, it's honest, and from that place, everything is possible. Not because you suddenly become perfect, but because you finally become real. And what's real, even if imperfect, can grow, can change, can transform. So accept where you are, accept who you are, accept what you feel, not as an excuse, not as resignation, but as the first real step toward the change you truly want. Because when you stop fighting yourself, when you start working with yourself, everything gets easier. Not perfect, but possible. And that's all you need to begin. Change begins with acceptance, with looking at yourself honestly, with dropping the act, with recognizing your full humanity. And from there, from that place of brutal but compassionate truth, you can begin to build something real, something that lasts, something that's truly yours. Because you're no longer building on the fantasy of who you should be. You're building on the reality of who you are. And that is the only solid foundation there is. Making yourself a priority isn't selfish. It's the most important decision you'll ever make in your life. Every time you choose yourself, every time you take care of yourself without guilt, every time you set boundaries without needing to explain, you're declaring that your life belongs to you. It's not about waiting for everything to be fixed before you start looking after yourself. It's about understanding that without you, nothing else works. Because real transformation doesn't happen when you've got everything under control. It happens the moment you decide that you matter too, that your peace matters, that your well-being is non-negotiable. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "Today, I choose myself."